Chris Reed, and welcome back Ryan Cohen to the show. Ryan, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm glad I get to be part of the optimistic one and not be a negative Nancy on this Padres team that I love so much.
Yes, we knew where casting should be done. I think this was good casting by the show today. It is Sunshine and Rainbows. It's best case scenarios. It's the Optimism show, part of our yearly trilogy of prediction podcasts. Last week, Jason R. Martinez joined the show, and we went through worst case scenarios, and we set our low bar for where we think the Padres season could end if it all went wrong. Today, we're going to set the high bar where it could go if everything goes right, and we'll do some world building. We'll each try and build a narrative in a world in which it works, and then we'll give those numbers at the end of the show. But first, a tradition unlike any other for the Optimism podcast, the Padres releasing bad news right before the Optimism podcast. I mean, we had one, Ryan, where literally we got comments like, I'm 30 minutes into this show. When are you going to say something positive?
It was when they put Martin Maldonado on the roster along with Yuli Gurriel. It was that day.
It was. But okay, we're going to try and soldier through regardless. So we're going to do this a little bit 2x speed so we can get to the part of the show that we're advertising. So if we do it 2x speed and then you listen to it at 2x speed, then this should be a really fast blow through what's been going on the last week in Padres news. All right, let me start with something that I think could be spun positive. Team USA, Team Dominican Republic played yesterday in the WBC semifinals. Team USA advanced. That means Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Wandy Peralta come home, 2 days earlier than they potentially could have. So that's 2 more days to bond with the team. Meanwhile, Mason Miller, no real spoiler alert here. This guy's a unit. He continues to dominate, and Team USA asked him to get 6 outs to close the semifinal, which is a very playoffy thing to do in March. Today, as I was coming home from a little midday golf, I get the push notice of Miller to be decided whether he's available for the WBC final, with a Craig Stammen quote in there that he's not ruled in and he's not ruled out. And to me,
let me decide, Craig.
Yeah, out.
Craig, can I decide?
Go ahead, Chris.
Can I decide?
Yeah, please do.
No.
Yeah, no.
No
is the
allowed.
correct answer here. I just around the horn because we can talk about whether we think he's critically important to USA's chances or not. But for me, this is a 100% no. You asked him to get 6 outs in a game in March. He needs 3 days rest.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think depending on who wins the game that's going to be happening, I guess as we're recording this right now, between Italy and Venezuela, I think that the need will not be as dire for the U.S. Compared to facing that Dominican Republic lineup, which was just relentless in a way that I think these other teams don't necessarily have. There are more weak spots. And B, I think that that's total BS if you're going to have a tournament where you are instituting pitch limits depending on the rounds for players so they don't get hurt for starters. But for relievers, it's, whatever. It doesn't matter, cannon fodder. And I don't know. I just think that would leave a really bad taste in my mouth. I mean, obviously, in some ways, it's up to Mason Miller. I think if Mason Miller is really trying to push for this, I think that that's kind of hard to tell a player no, especially as I think that the American team has been somewhat lacking in its intensity and fervor for this tournament compared to some of the players from the Caribbean or from Asia who have flat out said, I would rather win a WBC than a World Series. It is more important to me. I don't think any American player would say that. So I would welcome that kind of enthusiasm from the American side. But, that being said, I would find it peculiar, I guess, as I would leave it at that. Ryan, what say you?
I would be very surprised to see Mason Miller go. unless it's a 1-run game, and then I would be very surprised if he wasn't in there. I think Team USA, even though it's been less intense from them, except for with weird handshake stuff, they're a weird team.
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on that I don't need to get into at the moment, but I do think they obviously want to win, and if you're in a 1-run game and you don't use your best bullet, who seems like Mason still kind of wants to go, the fact that he hasn't completely shut it down, I'd be surprised if they didn't. But if they have any sort of lead, I think they'll go to another guy in a game in March.
Hey, Tarek Skubal wanted to keep playing, but he didn't get to decide.
Like I think that was Scott Boras saying, hey, buddy.
Scott Boras and the Tigers had the say in that particular moment. And, I know Mason is probably having the time of his life and like lots of respect to it. But at the end of the day, the two players that come to mind getting hurt last time around are Shohei Ohtani, who got hurt later on in the midseason playing for the Angels after going all out in March in the World Baseball Classic, trying to win the thing for his country. And I think of Edwin Diaz celebrating. So I don't want him pitching and I don't want him celebrating. I don't want him doing either of those. And, his paycheck comes from Major League Baseball. And the Padres just traded away a guy who is probably going to be really damn good to have Mason Miller pitching for them.
That's
so
my
Mason
thing.
Miller needs to pitch for the Padres.
Yeah, that's my thing. These are the Padres pitches that Mason Miller is throwing right now for Team USA. So Mason wants to go. Gotcha. Padres need to be the adult in the room. They need to be like, nope, sorry. If you wanted that, he needed to throw 15 pitches last game, not 2 innings. Once you've done that, you've kind of broken the pact. We need to pull him back because Mark DeRosa, I don't trust you. I think this matters way more to you because you've been proven to be a dumbass on national television, and then you doubled down on your dumbassery in order to try and do the classic modern 2020, no white man can do anything wrong. We just gaslight our way past it. Oh, no, I knew. Well, so that's why I put out the worst lineup and the worst pitchers is because I knew that the game mattered. Dumbass. So I don't trust him. I think he's going to get nervous. I think he's going to throw Mason Miller in the 7th inning, because it's the big game. It's the championship game. And all the rest of the time, the only thing he gets to do is say, freeze that video in a big screen, in the MLB studio so he can talk about somebody's load, on his back foot. So I do not trust DeRosa. I want the Padres to step in and Bigfoot this and say, Mason, come on back to you can stay in the dugout. You cannot pitch. You cannot pitch.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
I can also see a strategic aspect for Team USA to not announce that he's not going to go.
Sure.
Like he may well not go, but they're not going to come out and say it potentially so that the other team still thinks that they have to face Mason Miller in the 9th.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so that's Mason Miller. Meanwhile, Mason Miller, what we all hope was his final pitch of Team USA's run in the semifinal was like a ball and a half or 2 balls low to Geraldo Perdomo, just like the final pitch of the 8th inning. And thanks to no ABS being in place, Dominican lost instead of Team USA being forced to create a Tatis versus Miller situation. So the Padres might have won with that umpire's bad call, just dodging the bullet of that moment and whatever fallout was going to come from it. But hey, guys, it just gets me more excited. This is the Optimism episode. Gets me more excited for ABS this year. Like, hey, this kind of dumb shit shouldn't happen anymore.
I'm really curious to see how the strategy of it all works out. I think, the 8 hitter who uses one in the 3rd inning is going to get a lot of hate that just didn't exist in the past iteration of baseball. And I was thinking about it. Are there going to be situations where teams have a challenge left down to their last hitter with 2 strikes? Like maybe not. Maybe the DR burned it in the 7th. Like that's a fascinating aspect this year.
No, that's right.
I'm excited to get calls right, but I'm really excited to see how the strategy of it all works throughout the season.
That's what got me thinking for the first time ever that I don't even want the challenges. I wanted all the robots all the time. And I know they tested in the minors and there were some drawbacks, but if a team has used 2 challenges and then still like, let's say they challenge 6 calls because the umpire is complete jack shit, but 2 of them are just on the edges and they lose them. If a game gets decided this way again, I'm going to be just as mad because we have the technology to avoid it at this point, and we all got to live through the worst possible ending of that game last night.
So you're just talking about a CB Buckner game,
before,
is what you're saying.
And yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Correct.
And I've said this on the show before, but this is exactly what happened with tennis. Tennis instituted its challenge system about 15 years ago, and I really liked it. It was part of the match, so a player would challenge and everyone would start clapping, which is something that I hope MLB starts doing during games, just making it a thing. And everyone would go, yay, or aw, whatever it is. And, within, 10, 15 years of doing that system, the technology got good enough that now every major tournament is decided by completely by robot umps. And anytime you are watching the US Open or the Australian or Wimbledon or anything, and you hear, an umpire yell, "Ow," or whatever, that's a robot. That's a pre-recorded voice. That's not an actual person.
Wow.
And I think that it will, enough of those situations, Chris, that you're referring to where teams have already burned those challenges and then the game is decided by something like that will happen. And I guarantee you in 10 to 15 years, like once the umpires see that their jobs are not actually as threatened as they feel they are by these changes. And I think once, the fandom adjusts to the technology, they will see that we just need to do this and have it in stadium and have balls and strikes called with some pre-recorded umpire sound, and it will be part of the game and we won't even think about it anymore.
In the interim, what I would like to see is for MLB to hire the Savannah Bananas umpiring crew, because I think every time an umpire gets a call right and is confirmed, I want to see a little dance. I want to see a hot chata. That's right. I know my shit.
We had Vincent Chapman, the dancing umpire, come into the Jomboy Media Warehouse a few months ago. That guy is awesome. He is nonstop energy, big smile, saying hello to everyone. He sometimes you see those type of people and you're like, oh God, is this all fake? He is not fake at all. Super nice dude. He was showing pictures of his wife and his kids, his family. I couldn't be a bigger fan of the dancing umpire.
Going to be seeing him Saturday at Petco Park. The Bananas are in town in San Diego. So
that'll be good.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Okay. From ABS to Joe must go on the injured list. Right before spring training, Ryan, we did a podcast where we did predict the starting rotation before it all started. I'd like to now declare myself the winner as the one on the team that said no Musgrove in the opening day rotation. And it sounded like at the time.
You win if they don't trade for Sandy Alcantara, and then we have to split it.
That's fair. The Alcantara trade, I will give it to you. In fact, I'll give you the dub if they trade for Sandy Alcantara in the next week. A week to 9 days. Let's give them time. They traded for Craig Kimbrell the day before opening day in 2015. So I guess anything is possible. But guys, this is not surprising. It's been kind of, I think, broadcast all the way through. I mean, Joe in his interview with Darren and Marty a couple of weeks ago pretty much straight up said my arm hurts. And I know the last time we talked about this, I slightly conflated one of the things he said, talking about how in the winter his arm wasn't bouncing back to what he was feeling in the spring. But now he's saying he has a cranky arm in the spring. So it's pretty clear that this has been not a perfect rehab for Joe Musgrove, and that you kind of have to start, I think, Ryan, you have to start winding down your thoughts in terms of, okay, 150 innings, maybe now, could we get 120 innings from Joe Musgrove this year?
I think if you get to triple digits, you consider that a win. I know this is the Optimism episode. Hopefully he's out for the first 15 days of the season. He comes back and he's the old Joe Musgrove. But I don't know that you can pencil in much more than – I don't think you can pencil in anything. I don't know that you can hope for much more than 100 innings of like a 4 ERA. I mean, that would be a pretty great season in my eyes from where we're at right now.
It's just a tradition like any other, Craig. The worst news that you could possibly get as an optimist, you get right before you record the Optimism episode. It's a drag, but Joe's the leader on the team. It sucks. It just sucks. There's no like getting around it. Like you either have to replace that production somewhere, or you don't do that and you roll the dice on Tristan McKenzie or something else. It just sucks. Like I'm sure he'll, there's worse guys it could happen to that would be out longer and wouldn't work as hard to get back, but it sucks.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. When we saw Joe Musgrove go down with a very serious injury, I think that we certainly worried because we know that Joe Musgrove has a track record of pushing himself when coming back from injury. Now, it seems to me everything that has been broadcasted by Joe, by the team and everything is that they've been very responsible. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We can only go with what they're giving us, which with the Padres is a risky business because they tend to give us not much or conflicting information. But, I'm happy for the sake of argument to take Joe and to take the team at their word that they've been responsible and everything. But I do think it's worth noting for people that, Tommy John surgeries, while they've gotten better over the years, there's only about a 70-ish% rate that a pitcher is able to return to their former self, their former level of production, whatever. And that's on the first one. And for the second one, the rate is closer to 60%. And that's after years of improvement in the procedure. And, obviously that doesn't include internal brace procedures, which have become much more in vogue lately. But, nothing is promised with these things. You can be as careful as you can possibly be. You can have, the best doctors performing your surgeries, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes, the ligament doesn't take, things don't heal the right way. I won't go any further with my medical knowledge because outside of watching The Pit, I have no qualifications. But nothing is promised, so I think this is just one of those things where you hope the team and Joe are being as responsible as possible. And you hope that the universe does its work to heal Joe's elbow.
Yeah. I mean, and the last thing, and we're going to move on, is I just think that this is way more understood inside the Padres clubhouse than it was outside the Padres clubhouse. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that were fantasy drafters and, national baseball viewers that casually take in the Padres who just assumed that Joe Musgrove was going to be ready to go and that this is a big setback for the San Diego Padres. My belief is that they have known in the front office, they have known, Ruben Niebla has known, the coaching staff has understood that Musgrove was not going to be an option at the beginning of the year for months. And that this is just now coming to light because it has to, because the deadline is arriving. So in that, I think it's the classic of the Padres. Watch what they do, not what they say. Ignore what they say. It's almost always lies when it comes to their injury discussions. The fact that they signed a truckload of guys and it was like, we've got 7 guys for one spot in the rotation. Well, what if it was 2? What if it was 2 spots and they knew it was 2 spots the whole time? Then it makes a lot more sense to sign Marquez and Canning a little while back. So that's how I see it. And again, I'm taking an optimistic look at it. If you can get a 20 start season out of Joe Musgrove, I think that'll be a pretty good year in 2026. Owner news, and then we can maybe fly through this minor league stuff because that's really for the future. But final round bids expected for Padres sale by the middle of next month. Tours of Peoria, I heard, were going on for the finalist groups, of which 3 have been discussed. and one is the classic, we've got a mystery bidder, who will be revealed by the Scooby-Doo gang right at the end of the process. It was Professor Jones all along. But yeah, so hey, sounds like they might fetch $3 billion for this, $3 billion for the San Diego Padres. Got to be a committed owner to buy that team. I think this is going to be good news when it's done.
My optimism spin on the next ownership group. And let me start with, I think that I've talked to multiple people in the organization. I think everyone in the organization knows what we know as fans. And it's that if the next owner is willing to spend, the Padres are in a really good spot. And if they're not, the Padres are in a really, really bad spot. So my optimistic look at it is any owner that is interested in buying the team with where they're at right now, with the contracts that are already handed out, has to be willing to take those contracts on because they're not tradable. You can't get rid of that money. So if you're willing to take those contracts on, then you seemingly have money to spend. And that is a good thing for the Padres and will set them up for success in the next 5 years. I'm hoping whoever is interested in buying the team cares about winning, cares about San Diego, can honor Peter's legacy and do all that. And you have to have money to do that. So I'm trying to be positive about it. I think it will eventually be a good thing when this is all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very helpful that there are 4 reported final round, people, of which 3 are publicly known. Jose Feliciano, Dan Friedkin, and Joe Lacob. Jose Feliciano and Joe Lacob own sports teams, and so does Dan Friedkin. And I started there for a second because I think Dan Friedkin tried to buy the Celtics and was unsuccessful, but he does own Serie A club Roma and Premier League club Everton. So I think that bodes well. This isn't a first-time owner who doesn't really necessarily know what they're getting into when it comes to building, a successful franchise. I mean, Joe Lacob certainly being the principal owner of the Golden State Warriors, and I'll be honest. I have someone who I prefer winning, and that's the person who was born in San Diego, because I just naturally believe that they're going to be more emotionally invested than someone who sees this as just another part of their portfolio. That person's Dan Friedkin, by the way. He's based in Texas, but he was born in San Diego. I think anyone that's in it at this point, Jose Feliciano has a net worth of $4 billion. Dan Friedkin has a net worth of $9 billion. I'm looking up Joe Lacob right now as I speak. But anyone who's in this position is already pot committed. Joe Lacob is approximately $1.5 billion for Joe Lacob. So he would be part of some sort of ownership group who would come in and take control of the team. But anyone who has that kind of money, I think understands the economics of Major League Baseball, understands the economics of the Padres, and would be willing to spend.
And those are changing economics. So I'm hoping that that's not becoming the basis for every decision in the matter. We're all assuming it's going to go to the highest bidder. And I just hope that the Seidler brothers kind of contend with the ghosts of the past and consider San Diego in the matter, as far as which new prospective owner is going to invest in the team. They'd have to be a complete moron to consider any sort of relocation talk for the next decade or decade and a half. But a very tiny history lesson that I've talked with the boys before. In 1987, Joan Kroc tried to give the Padres to the city of San Diego. She tried to make that happen with the mayor at the time, along with a $100 million endowment to keep the team competitive. And that action never even had a chance, because before any sort of legal framework could be drawn up with the city, before the city attorney could really explore it, Major League Baseball had 8 of its owners vote unanimously to prohibit that from happening. And the chairman of that committee was Peter O'Malley, Siler Brothers' uncle. So, like, this has just been a crazy circle over the past 30, 40 years of Padres ownership. And I wanted to end up with somebody with the same championship ambitions that Peter Seidler had. And I hope that is weighed as heavily as the economics, which, probably won't.
Okay. With those Padres news topics done and dusted, there were announcements of the latest round of Major League Baseball rules changes coming to the minor leagues, which is usually a 1 to 2 year preview of things that are coming to the major leagues, as opposed to going through each of these in a detailed fashion, which is probably an excellent Jomboy podcast that should happen, but just not this one today. Instead, I just want to kind of bust through these, and then we can say what is the one we're excited about or most enthusiastic about, and is there one that you're not that enthusiastic about? So rule changes come to the minor leagues. The ability for the Hawkeye system or whatever to track check swings, for check swings to be part of ABS, essentially, is a change coming. Something that we saw teased last year. PitchCom visits. Oh, hey, my PitchCom doesn't work. Turns into an actual mound visit now. So it's like, that's cool, that's cute, that's a mound visit. So did it really not work? Defensive signals must follow the pitch clock. I assume, Raphie, that means within the time frame?
Yeah, exactly. So this was another, basically, like, as a sort of overall blanket on these rules, a lot of it is sort of fixing the massive changes that came in with the advent of the pitch clock. And so the defensive signals must follow the pitch clock. This is another way in which teams tried to circumvent the pitch clock. Oh, players are a little gassed, whatever, like pitcher needs a moment. The catcher would come out and he would do his little, touch his arm, face, shoulder, wipe across the chest, doing defensive signals. Well, a lot of times this was just because they were trying to give the pitcher an extra 20 seconds. So this is, basically they're saying, like, you can still do that, but it's got to be in the 15 or the 20 seconds that have been allotted in the pitch clock.
Got it. Along those same lines, mound visits would be subject to the same rules. The clock would be running. In Double-A, disengagements go from 2 to 1. So 1 disengagement and then you can run.
It's hardcore, man.
Exactly. It's hardcore. It's really hardcore.
That's wild. And then what's second base positioning? Where do they have to go?
So
now in center field.
Yeah.
If you look at a baseball diamond, the center of second base, like the exact center point of second base, is in line with the exact center point of first base and third base. And this would essentially move that so that second base is closer to home plate, so that if you were to take those center lines from first base and third base and have that as the convergence point, the top point of the base would actually be where the center of the base is now. And what that does is that closes the base path. It shortens it by about 9 inches from where. So similar to when they made the bags bigger, they're also moving. Yeah. So this is not in Major League Baseball. This is in minor league baseball. But this is all in response to the fact that the year that the pitch clock changed, like, stolen base rates shot up, like there was all this running and stuff on the base paths, and those trends have essentially weakened. And so, baseball is really trying to take 2023 baseball and make it a thing. And so they're like, how do we do that? Well, we can make the distance between first base and second base a little smaller again. And then what happens if we do this over the course of an entire season? Are they going to see any changes, et cetera, et cetera? I do want to go back really quickly to the checked swing adjudication. So I highly encourage everyone to go to Fangraphs. Eric Longenhagen reported this article. You can find it on their front page if you're listening to this around when this episode came out. But the definition of a check swing in this adjudication is not what we normally think of as the definition of a check swing. Now, Ryan, if I may ask as our vaunted guest, if I were to ask you to describe a check swing, how far would a player need to go as you understand it now?
It's kind of like, when you see it, I think of the front of home plate. If you break a plane of glass, that's a swing, but no one really knows.
And that's what I would say. And I'd say that's probably what my two co-hosts would say. And I think that that's what pretty much every plugged-in baseball fan would say. What the system deems as a check swing is the foul line. If it crosses, it's a 45-degree angle from where the player is standing, which is essentially runs parallel to the foul line. So if you're a right-handed batter, think about the head of the bat crossing the plane of the first base foul line. Now, for a lot of people, they would say, well, that's a swing. If it stays, if it crosses the plane of home plate, but stays behind that foul line. Well, not in the way that this new ABS system would define it. So my feeling on it is, well, I think a lot of people will not like it at first because it basically creates too many things that are considered to be a take and not an actual swing. I just think having a definition for what a check swing is the most important thing. So if it's the foul line, okay, like it'll take some adjusting, but like at least we know. I think having this sort of vague thing where like, it's just based on vibes. Like truly, the rule is vibes. I think like if you'll recall the 2021 NLDS that was against the Giants and the Dodgers, that series ended on a check swing. And like just the idea that, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Do any of you know if the cameras that particular angle we see, are they parallel with home plate, or are they more up the line demonstrating this kind of foul line effect? Does anybody know that?
They're usually more parallel to home plate.
That's what I thought,
they're usually in the well of the dugout. Yeah, exactly. They're not up the foul line.
Then this changes everything.
Well, okay, I agree with you. I think that can be good and that can be fine. I personally love the PitchCom fixed costs a mound visit. I think that's a great rule. And I think tinkering.
What are they going to get rid of next? Phantom IL? They're overcorrect.
Yes. And I think tinkering with where the base is nonsense and unnecessary. And if they're going to do something, add the second base at first base, like they have in college and other games.
Men's league.
Yes. Add that base that people can run through as opposed to having collisions at first base. To me, that's something that's practical, usable, and real, as opposed to, we added 9 inches because we really want to get a stolen base record for Victor Scott or something, like, I don't know.
He deserves it, Craig. I do think you're right, though. The only reason they don't do it is because it doesn't look cool. Like, it's the whole, why didn't Wilt Chamberlain throw his free throws underhanded, right? Just because, what the haters say. Ryan Cohen knows how to deal with the haters.
That's right. It's because he thought Rick Barry was an asshole. That's why. He's like, fuck Rick Barry. He thinks he's so smart with his underhanded shot. I'll shoot 50%. I don't care. I'm going to have a better time than you, man. Nobody wants to talk to you at night. All right. Anything else on the rules changes? I want to get optimistic. All right,
Let's
good.
Get optimistic.
Let's do it. It's time for the Optimism episode. This is how it works. We're going to each go around the horn and construct our good world, build a narrative where it goes well for San Diego this year, put in the details that you would like. When each of you are done with that, I went first for the Pessimism episode, so obviously I won't go first this time. I don't know who goes first, but it's not me. Then we'll give, at the end, we'll give our high bar prediction numbers.
What if we go in last name alphabetical order?
Fair.
Okay, that's specific. Sure.
I made it so it seems arbitrary when it's actually the order I want.
You want to go in. So I suppose that does mean that I will be going first, which I'm absolutely happy to do.
Dude,
I never realized we share initials. This just occurred to me for the first time.
We do. We
and
share
I
initials.
have them backwards.
Yes.
CR. I like CR as initials. I'm a big Chris Ryan fan on The Ringer, and they call him CR. So that's what I always think of. Okay. Yes, but Ryan, we share initials as we do with the cola. So
it's a good cola.
Let's talk optimism. So last week I had a pessimistic take of 73 wins. Of course, I forgot to mention the most important rule of this, which is that we will not say our win totals after we give our takes. We will all save our win totals for the very end of the episode. So, my pessimism take was largely based on some of the wide error bars that this team has. And I think that that's been the case for the San Diego Padres for the last several years now, where they've invested in older talent who is proven, who has tremendous upside, but also is subjected to the aging curve, is subjected to certain lineup construction proclivities. And that's what's fun about the Padres, frankly, is that this team has incredibly wide error bars. And if you're on the good side of the outcome of those error bars, and if everyone's on the good side of the outcome of those error bars, like a team which I am constantly questioning whether or not they have the capacity to hit 180 home runs. The upside of this team is that they hit well over 200 home runs. Like that is for sure the upside. And let's dig into to how that might happen. So first of all, my optimism take starts at the very top. That's not Tatis. That's not Manny. That is not Craig Stammen. And it is not even AJ Preller. It is about the ownership. And we already got into it a little bit. But an owner is expected to be announced in mid-April. And that person can put an immediate stamp on the team. They don't have to wait until the offseason to make some sort of impact. At least through the 2026 season, who knows when the CBA expires, but we have rich teams and we have poor teams, and we do not have a salary cap. And assuming the person who comes in to take over the Padres is Mr. Moneybags and is willing to make a statement, we can do what baseball teams have long been doing, what the Padres have long been doing, which is take advantage of the economics of baseball and look around the league by May, June of this coming season and say, hey, that's an aging veteran there who you owe several $1 million. We'd be happy to take him off of your hands for nobody. And that will be coming in. This new owner will be coming in right around the time, May, June, etc., where we'll get a really good sense of this roster and we'll know any potential deficiencies. So that's the number one way that the optimism train begins, is that we have the stopgap of wealth that could potentially be backing up the Padres. Now, let's move on down the leadership chain. Craig Stammen. I think that in my pessimism case, I laid out that I thought that maybe Craig Stammen would be too reliant on his bullpen as a former relief pitcher and believe in those guys and potentially tucker them out. I'm going to say in my optimism take that Craig Stammen manages the bullpen like Mike Schilt, which is to say he doesn't manage the bullpen. It goes to Ruben Niebla. And it's basically Ruben Niebla as his associate manager, whatever the hell that means, has full reins of control of when to pull the levers. And Craig Stammen basically is someone who's willing to delegate power. That is about the only thing that Craig Stammen can control, is how much he's willing to trust the people he surrounded himself with in the dugout. Let's get on to the players. I will do some quick hits. Basically, the optimism take involves everyone in our lineup playing at their maximum potential. So for Jackson Merrill, we've got Merrill Madness yet again. He slugs 25 homers, and most importantly, he's walking. He's walking. He's taking pitches. He gets a walk rate at about 10%, which is a little better than league average and is a lot better than what Jackson Merrill has been doing because he's going to be hitting in the 2-hole as it appears. Hitting in the 1-hole would be Xander Bogaerts. And mostly, I just want Xander to keep playing stellar defense and, of course, hit a few more home runs. I'd say Xander hitting 20 home runs is an incredibly optimistic take, but that's what this is for. Let's move down the lineup in our 3-4, Dominican heart of the lineup. Machado and Tatis, I don't care in what combination, combine for 80 home runs. I think it is certainly possible. And I mean, listen, man.
Dare I say likely?
Tatis could hit 45 home runs. Manny could hit 35 home runs. I think that those are realistic, optimistic numbers. Those are 80th to 90th percentile outcomes, which is what we're doing here. Fernando Tatis Jr. is still an NL MVP caliber player, and if you have to believe in that upside, and in that upside, he has to be competing with Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber and all these guys for the National League home run crown. Crone Zone. I think the most important thing for Jake is that his platoon gap closes because it's evident that this team wants to play him against left-handed pitching. So at least that he's hitting lefties as well as he is hitting righties, and that he's able to muscle 18 home runs, something that we've seen him do already in a Padres uniform. Ramon Laureano, I just think just keep doing what you're doing, repeats his monster season, hits 25 homers. Gavin Sheets plays passable defense at first base. And I also think that is the optimistic take, is that Gavin Sheets is playing first base for this team and not Nick Castellanos. If Gavin Sheets is playing first base and he's doing a decent job of it, and of course he would need to be hitting upwards of 20 home runs in that role. I would say it's not out of the question for him. As a strict platoon DH situation, Miguel Andujar and Nick Castellanos, I guess that wouldn't actually make sense. I didn't think about that. So anyway, just ignore what I just said about a platoon DH. But Miguel Andujar and Nick Castellanos provide a 25 home run, 270 average platoon at the designated hitter role. I think that's realistic. And then catcher, basically, Luis Campusano turns into Kyle Higashioka from 2 years ago. If he turns in that season. This is the optimism episode.
There's some things that can only go so far. Campusano is
they have other guitars, Craig. They have other guitars. They have guitars from
Switchfoot. Can't be the Switchfoot guitar.
Slightly Stupid has guitars to give.
Yeah, exactly.
Luis, you've hurt my heart too many times.
That's
sorry.
Luis Campusano probably loves Slightly Stupid. I have some evidence.
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably a good guess.
Okay.
Let's move to the pitching side. I'll make it much quicker. Joe Musgrove has one injured list stint, and it is for the amount of time that the team states it will be.
What?
You get what I'm saying? If it's a 15-day IL stint, he's on the IL for 15 days. If it's 60 days, he's on it for 60 days. I don't care how long it is. It could be either one of those, but it's for how long the team says it will be, and that's it. There's no extended stuff. So there's that. Basically, I'm just asking Michael King and Nick Pivetta to be the guys that they were in their prime years. Michael King in 2024, Nick Pivetta last year. They repeat those seasons. We're in great shape. Strandy stays Strandy, and the pitch shape that he's changed with his slider and his cutter, kind of converting into one sort of Power Rangers Ultron pitch. Is that the right? Is Ultron Power Rangers? I don't know.
No,
Voltron was all the lions or tigers that jumped together and became a robot. I think Voltron.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Voltron.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Megatron was a tractor trailer.
No, he was
a Transformer.
Wasn't he
right?
the
Yes.
Decepticon that turned into a gun?
Yes, but that's a Transformer. There's Autobots and there's Decepticons. I know that much. At least. Okay. Let's stay on track, and I'm almost done. The fifth spot turducken of whoever that is, Marquez, freaking
Bueller.
Canning. Yeah, well, no, not Bueller. Bueller's the 4-starter basically right now.
Right.
I haven't even talked about him, but Sears, Waldron, whatever. Here's my benchmark for success. As a unit, Padres starting pitchers last year were actually ranked 22nd in baseball in terms of home runs per 9 innings. Their ratio was 1.33. It was not a good year for the starters in terms of giving up home runs.
Petco kind of had that weird home run year last year, right?
Yes. I'm saying that if our fifth spot keeps homers per 9 to last year's overall starter rate of 1.33 home runs per 9 innings, that is an incredibly optimistic and, dare I say, plausible outcome. And then finally, we get a half of a season of all 4 horsemen riding together into the sunset of a World Series trophy. So again, there's no more Fab Five. Robert Suarez is on the Braves, but you have Miller, you have Estrada, you have Morejon, and then when he returns from injured list, you have Jason Adam. We get a half of a season, 81 games with all 4 of those guys available. I think that bodes very well for the Padres. So there goes the end of my take, and I pass it down to the other Mr. RC, Ryan Cohen.
I'm excited for this. I did write a lot of this down before we got going, so there is some overlap, Raphie. I promise I'm not just copying what you're saying.
No problem.
I'm going to go from what I think is the least important to the most important and kind of work my way up. So number one, Craig Stammen is beloved. He knows the organization really well. It's an absolutely perfect fit. Players love him. He works great with AJ. Do I think the manager matter that much? Not really. But it would be nice if we didn't have to stress about Craig Stammen as the manager this year. So I'll start there. Number two, Nick Castellanos hits lefties really well. It becomes a nice platoon with him and Duhar and Sheets. There's some bench options. There's a DH option. That trio, whether they're at first or DH or on the bench, is a solid unit. I'm not talking all-star level production, but Sheets and Duhar and Castellanos, they come up to the plate and you're like, all right, there's a chance something good happens here, as opposed to how you felt when Martin Maldonado or Jason Hayward stepped up to the plate last year. Number three, we get second half Xander all year. What we saw from that June series in LA through the rest of the year when he was healthy, if we get that over a full season, that's a very high-level shortstop in the middle of the order. I don't expect much power there, but that's a productive player. You can get up to 4 or 5 wins, and I would be very happy with that from Xander. Here's where it starts to get a little scary. Does Walker Buehler bounce back?
Uh-oh.
Does German Marquez show signs of 2018? Is Kyle Hart real? Is Griffin Canning healthy when he's healthy? Is he going to be what he was last year? If some combination of that and Tristan McKenzie and Marco Gonzalez or whoever fills out the back half, JP Sears, I love you, brother. Who knows? If we can get enough quality starting pitching from those 5-6 guys in the back half, just 2 of them need to land anywhere decent. And I do love Ruben Niebla. Boy, are we testing him this year. I'm hopeful that 2 of them can be contributing starting pitchers, not competing for a Cy Young, but contributing. Number 5, I need these players to do exactly what they did last year. Freddie Fermin, just go be a solid catcher. I don't have a ton of expectations, but be solid. Laureano, double up what you did last year. Jake Cronenworth was top 10 in on-base percentage last year. If that's a bat you have and can consistently expect him to get on base, that's a real piece. And with the good defense and versatility, I would put last year towards the top of Jake's career. And if he can do that again in his age 33 season, I believe, I'd be very happy. Pivetta needs to do what Pivetta did last year. Michael King needs to stay healthy. And then the bullpen needs to do what it did. And that's the thing I'm most confident in. I don't know if Mason Miller will give up a hit all year. That's kind of how I feel right now after watching him in the WBC. So I just need those units to do what they've done. Is the Randy Vasquez uptick real? We're seeing him hit 97 in spring training. We saw him do that at the end of the year last year. We know it was a bit of smoke and mirrors at times last season, but somehow ended up with an ERA in the 3s despite the higher FIP. Can we have that FIP down into the 3s and then the ERA starts to seem a little bit more realistic? He was a big piece in a Juan Soto trade. I know that was ultimately for Michael King, but Randy Vasquez wasn't a throw-in, and he's been solid over his 2 years. Last year better than the year prior. Is there one level above what we saw last year to take him into that real number 3 status? And if so, I'm almost starting to like the rotation a little bit, which seems hard to believe. This is the most important thing. This is what I think is the absolute biggest factor of whether the 2026 Padres will be good or not. It's the same thing as last year. The superstars need to be superstars. Fernando needs to be an MVP level player. Manny needs to put 30 and 100 with better defense. And Jackson needs to take that next step into 27 to 30 homers with the higher walk rate like you're talking about, Raphie. If all 3 of those guys live up to or close to their potential, the top of the lineup is just as good as a team like the Dodgers. It really is. I trust those guys as much as any team in the league. And if the back half of the lineup with Jake, with Laureano, Sheets, Castellanos, and Duhar, whatever it shakes out to be, can just compete, and those top 3 are true superstars, the Padres are in a decent spot. The last thing I'll say, there are massive holes on this team right now. The back half of the rotation is ugly. Looking at last year's team, which I'm not giving my prediction yet, but last year's team won 90 games. That team had Jason Hayward, Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado. There were massive holes. Yuli Gurriel was on the opening roster.
Stop
and the
saying
lineup
the
is
name.
in a much better spot.
We said him twice. If we say his name one more time, he's on the 40 man.
Yeah, that's true. Got to be careful.
I don't want to will that.
Got to be careful.
I do really believe the lineup is in a much better spot on March 16th, 2026 than it was on March 16th, 2025. And despite the holes in the rotation, I think the team is still in a playoff competing spot. And that's how I'll end my world building, if you will.
Love it. Lots of specifics from both of our RCs for our optimism segment. Now, I'm going to do this just like I did last week. I am not going to do a ton of specifics. Instead, I'm going to do 4 kind of salient points that I think build the world. And last week's, just for comparison, last week's were Pujols poison, meaning Pujols gets in the minds of Manny and Toddy and just corrupts the whole start of the Stammen regime. X misses.
Less likely
Right,
today.
yeah, big
than
loser
last
now,
week.
right? Big loser now.
Yeah, what a dork.
Yeah,
Glasses.
until they get back to Peoria and Stammen goes, I think it was a strike, by the way. And then they go like, oh, F you, Stammen. No, okay. It was Pujols poison. X misses the spot. Top 3 starters on the injured list same time and missed your rebuild window. That was last week. So I got 4 happy ones for my best case scenario. Let's build the world. Point 1, and this will be somewhat of a repeat, but point 1, it's Merrill's year. At the end of the year, they talk about Jackson Merrill before Tatis or Machado or Bogarts. He starts the All-Star game. He is in the top 4 for MVP. This is his Yelich breakout crazy year of 300, 35 homers, big walks, big everything, 300, 400, 500 on the numbers, on the slash line. It's Merrill's year. Last year was the year of untold injuries and bad luck and nonlinear progression. And this is where we see it get onto that superstar track that makes that 9-year contract look amazing. As a result of it being Merrill's year, point 2, the offense is real and the center holds. What do I mean by that? The offense is real is pretty clear. You have a 9-man lineup. Everything Ryan just said is underlined by real world results. This team becomes perpetual motion because you've got Cronenworth and Fermin at the bottom of the lineup generating on base percentage that allows the top of the lineup to be hitting and driving in runs instead of just getting on base empty to be stranded there. Sheets, Andujar, Castellanos, everybody plays their role. Everybody hits okay. Xander is good. All of those things lead to it being a real offense that is talked about. You get the really annoying Mark DeRosa freeze frame, 8-minute MLB Network piece like 2 months into the year. We all slept on the Padres. In this, I will show you why. And that becomes a talking point. And when I say the center holds, one of the best points that was made on the Pessimism show was that when you specifically look up the middle of the diamond, the Padres' backup options are not pretty if exposed to the sunlight for any length of time. But if Fermin, Cronenworth, Bogarts, and Merrill stay healthy and play the whole year for this team, their outlook gets so much better than it does if they don't. So I think that's one of the absolute key variables to the 2026 Padres is the specific health of their up-the-middle players. And if the center of the diamond holds, the Padres are in great shape. Which brings me to my third world-building point. Gentlemen, I am unwilling to build an optimistic world in which our starting rotation is good. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Instead, I am working on the standpoint of how can a team be a winner with a deeply mediocre starting rotation, which I believe the Padres will have this year. a rotation that is 17th or below, okay, in terms of the league rankings? Well, it's because they're going to have more than enough in the pen, more than enough in the pen. You've got your Mason Miller, who's the best closer in baseball. You've got Jason Adam and Morahone, who's pitching for a new contract. You've got Estrada that locks in. But David Morgan is a dude and is slinging that slider. And Bradley Rodriguez, we're doing podcasts a couple of months down the road going, is he the second best reliever on the team? Is he the third best reliever on the team? Does he need more pressure outings? Kyle Hart can be a bridge lefty long man that gives San Diego the option to throw some bullpen games early in the year and not overexpose either the pen or some crappy mediocre starter like German Marquez or Walker Buehler. Okay. And as a result, you've got an offense that is taking a 4-3 lead after 4 innings or 5 innings, or a 5-4 lead after 4 or 5 innings. And then the Padres add on and lock it down on their side. And they're winning a lot of 7-4 games in the course of the season, 6-4 games, 7-4 games, where the starters are just, 4.8. But it doesn't matter because we get a lead, we muscle our way through 5, and then we lock it down, which brings me to my 4th one. And this is kind of ending where Raphie started. What's good when you get a soccer owner that takes over your team? They understand the summer transfer window. That's where new soccer owners love to make a splash by making a big move in the summer transfer window that delights their fans. The Padres are in position. They have a good summer. And as a result, the new owner wants to make a splash. And that's how the Padres trade for name your hot starter, one good starting pitcher, Tarek Skubal. In this world that I'm building, Detroit has a go nowhere season. That everything falls apart. Everything goes wrong in Detroit while things are going right in San Diego, and they know Skubal's ass is out of there, and he gets hurt at the beginning of the year and always blames the WBC, and it's just a big mess. But come July, he's ready to go. He's flowing, even though he's only made 7 starts on the season, and the Padres go make a big move and bring in that one dude in the summer transfer window. So it's Merrill's year. The offense is real and the center holds. There's more than enough in the bullpen to make up for our poor starters, and the summer transfer window improves the team. That's my rosy scenario, Chris.
Craig, go ahead and close your eyes.
Oh boy, is there a seagull involved here?
Picture this. You're walking outside an automatic door to the cries of the seagull. It's a warm 76-degree day on Sunday, September 27th. We are walking out of Deckman's North. I've just slurped down 24 oysters and some Campacci crudo.
Thanks for the invite.
Raphie, you did not have a salad. Craig, you probably had the burger, but I made you eat the seaweed aioli.
That is correct.
We get down to the ballpark, and the boys are wearing their City Connects. We're watching something great happen. And why we are is because the following things have happened. Number one, there is a trade. The Padres rotation coalesces around maybe not Tarek Skubal. I mean, I have dreams, but I'm just a humble Padres fan. I gotta keep them a little bit more tampered down a bit. But they've made a trade, and the rotation is fine. It's good even. It's got 3 guys who can get you through a playoff game. No, easy peasy. And then a 4th dude who might be Joe Musgrove. We don't know. But in order for Joe to be involved, he has to stay off the 60-day disabled list. Injured list, which happens in this scenario. That helps them get where they're at this sunny Sunday afternoon against Miami. Padres also get ruthless. They don't keep guys for sentimental reasons. If Gavin Sheets comes out of the gate struggling, they send him down because he's got an option. If Nick Castellanos struggles because he's not good, they cut him and they find somebody better to replace him with. This team hasn't been ruthless for a while. Part of being ruthless will be telling Mason Miller he doesn't get to pitch again. No matter what Mark DeRosa wants, the Padres show a ruthlessness that they haven't so far. Another important piece will be Luis Campusano. What he'll need to do is take a 2-strike approach all the time. No more big swings for Luis. No more trying to hit a home run until there's 2 strikes. When you look at the guy's approach, he is a major league hitter when he's facing 2 strikes. He can put the ball anywhere, and he has enough power and strength in him just to hit it out on that little 2-strike swing he has. He's got to use it more. And Craig, I got 2 more points, and I think the one I'm going to make now is the most important one because you fully agreed with me. The Padres middle stays healthy. Jackson is projected for 4.3 F4 this year. Xander projected for 3.3. Jake 2.2. Freddie Fermin 2.1. We'll just replace all those guys in order. Jackson is Bryce Johnson, career 75 WRC plus. Xander's replaced by Mason McCoy, career 49 WRC plus. Jake would get replaced with Sungmoon Song, who is compared to Ha-Sung Kim for a reason. They each had WRC pluses around 150 in the years before they came over. And in his first year, Ha-Sung Kim had a 71 WRC plus. And let's not even get into numbers for backup catchers because they're not even real at this point. We don't know. But the Padres middle has to stay healthy for this team to get where they absolutely can. And the one is the same that we've all said. The guys are the guys. The stars do what they do. And those guys, it's so concentrated. Those guys are so damn good that a career year from any 2 of Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis, or Manny Machado puts the Padres among the best lineups in the game. They can beat anybody.
The end?
I kind of wanted to roll into my win projection, but I kind of want to save it for the end.
No, you have to save it.
Those are the things. Yeah, all right. I'm going to save it.
Okay, you've saved it.
I just had the energy.
I know. I felt that pregnant pause. I was like, is this about are we going to announce an Oscars tie? Like, what's about to happen here on the end of this?
Yeah.
No, okay. All right. We've each built our worlds. Now let's finish the exercise. We'll go right around in the same order. We're continuing clockwise here on the clock tower. Raphie, your high-end bar win total.
I laid out a team that would be potentially hitting 200 home runs, having a above average starting rotation, Craig, and having relievers who would be able, to ride as the 4 horsemen together for most of the season. And I think in that scenario that the 2026 Padres have a top end limit for me of 97 wins.
That's a lot. Ryan.
A lot
of wins.
That's a lot.
Big air bars.
If everything works out the way I outlined it, with a good rotation, better like around an average rotation to slightly above average, an elite bullpen, a good lineup, and a strong bench, it sounds a lot like my favorite regular season of my lifetime, which was 2024. And I'll put them at 93 wins.
93 wins. I'm going to say one more. I'm going to say 94 wins because there's a lot of competition in the NL West. I think even a great Padres team is going to have a really hard time getting to 95 and above because you've got 3 other teams that are trying to win in your division and only one that has no idea how to do that. I mean, they're technically trying to win this year in their own terms. It's just with Michael Lorenzen and Jose Quintana. We'll see how it works out. But, maybe it works out. Who knows? But, yeah, I'm going to say 94 wins is my top level, Chris.
I like that. I like it a lot. Just a month and a half after we slurp our oysters and have our meal at Deckman's, we're attending a ceremony as the Padres, who did not sell, have their ownership group hand the keys to the ballpark to Tony Hawk, who has been elected mayor of San Diego in a special ceremony in the
He
jubilation.
doesn't even live in the city of San Diego. He lives in like Carlsbad.
This is the optimistic podcast, Raphie. It's about optimism. He's the mayor. And they're celebrating the world championship, of course, after the Padres win a team record tying 98 wins.
Wow. 98 wins, a World Series, and in a fit of pique, the ownership gives the team to the city of San Diego, which has elected, shockingly, Carlsbad's Tony Hawk as their mayor.
Yes.
Or maybe they've annexed Carlsbad as some sort of exclave within North County.
I like it.
So
now
it's
we're
just
getting better.
separate.
Who's the kook now?
I'd like to
Carlsbad?
I'd like to add one thing to my prediction. I'm the low end, which I wouldn't have guessed coming into this. 93 wins is still a team that can win the World Series.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And in 2024, 100%. I still think they should have. And I don't know that regular season wins, as long as you're above 90, matter that much. I think the Dodgers kind of proved that last year. And I just want them 90 and above in the playoffs, competing, healthy going into it. And I've convinced myself that a lot less talent can do a lot more. So I'm optimistic going into this year, and I'm really excited for it.
That's the motto of the Optimism episode, Ryan. A lot less talent can do a lot more. I do have a question for you before we move on, which is that in your 93 win scenario, do the 2026 Padres also win the National League West, or are they a wild card team?
I kind of think the Dodgers can just win as many games as they want and not care.
Yep.
Like, I think if the Padres are projecting to win 93, the Dodgers can just win 94. You know, the Dodgers could probably win 120 if they wanted to. I don't think they want to. I think they can phantom IL guys and do whatever. Winning the division is so not on my radar. It just doesn't really matter to me. They had a chance to last year down the stretch and completely choked it. But we also saw the Giants win it in 21. And it didn't matter.
Yep.
They lost to the Dodgers 5 games later.
Yep.
The Dodgers have been suspended for
swing.
PEDs in my scenario, by the way.
Oh, just the entire
like
team?
all of
just boom.
The entire team. Just boom.
One really bad
I think
dinner.
in my optimism, even with 97 wins, I still find it pretty hard to win the division. I think my 97 wins involves the Diamondbacks and the Giants just cratering. And
eating
not
up
being
those
real.
games.
Exactly.
That makes more sense to me as well.
To be a 90-plus win team, the Padres absolutely need to take advantage of the NL West that isn't the Dodgers. The Rockies must be not even a factor, and then the D-backs and Giants have to be teams that we're looking forward to playing.
Yeah, so like in the only projections that would see the Padres winning in our little things, because Fangraphs has the Dodgers projected to win 96, which is 8 games more than the next closest team, are Craig and I. You know, when those were hefty numbers.
Yeah. Great stuff, gentlemen. Hopefully this has gotten all the Padres fans excited. If you'd like to, on YouTube, leave your best case scenarios, little specific things or world building points, or your season totals in the comments. That'd be awesome. Let's keep the conversation going. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can hit that thumbs up button, hit for likes, hit the subscribes, do all the things. That would be really appreciated as well. And Ryan, how can everyone help support and follow your exploits?
Yeah, doing a bunch. I work for Jomboy Media, so if you see us on social media at all, follow, like, do all that. My favorite thing I get to do at work is the JM Baseball channel. We do a daily trivia video over there, a lot of baseball. I'm in the JM Warehouse where we're playing wiffle ball equivalent with blitzball and different sports in there. So if you look up Jomboy Media Warehouse. And then I also have a Padres podcast with Clark Farenthold. He's huge in the prospect world and very analytical. We have a lot of fun on the Brown and Gold Standard. So if you want to hear more of my currently raspy voice, you can check us out over there. And I love what you guys do. I tune in all the time, so it's always fun to join you guys. And thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Your favorite thing to do isn't to curse the Dominican Republic's WBC team with Padres City Connects?
Dude, I got a lot of hate online for rooting for my two favorite players. Like Manny and Fernando are on a team. I'm going to root for the team.
You don't deserve any of that.
It's kind of fun at this point.
No, I was actively rooting for Dominican Republic against
100%.
100%.
It's the best outcome for the Padres for them. And also just like the USA team is just so unfun compared to literally everyone else.
Anybody.
Like the Italian team's got like espresso and kisses from Vinny Pasquantino. Like Dominican team has a jacket that they're all putting on, and then like the US team's just like watching footage from the Bin Laden raid, like over and over and over again.
This one's for the guys in the trenches. I'm like, dude, they're drone fighters. Like, relax. But anyways, all right, that's it for the Optimism Show. Next week, Raphie and Chris and I laid down our actual prediction numbers, and then we go into regular season mode. We start rolling with post-game shows for our patrons. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub if you want to be a part of all of the action this year. Group therapy shows for our patrons where they get to call in to the show and be a big part of it. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Come join all the fun. Until we meet next week, for Ryan, for Raphie and Chris, I'm Craig saying, go Padres.